Before we were frightened of the whites. We knew that they wanted to kill us. So whenever they appeared, we would run off into the forest. We'd abandon the village and disappear off into the jungle. Later on, we'd arrive at the Indian Bureau post, and there we'd catch diseases. We'd go off into the forest having caught the illnesses. We weren't used to those illnesses. Then we'd bathe in the river, lie by the side of our fires, and before we knew it, we'd all caught pneumonia. Lots of us died.
Rabam badir mano rabano no mu pano wadia no da ade mu wadia no da te rais son tama sto ko da te ke au kara raja da so atorau rau pibang so kas badat so pang da te ba atorau waja bada da te.
While the world is more connected than ever, there are still isolated pockets of people around the world. It's hard to know how many uncontacted tribes exist today, but the advocacy group Survival International estimates that there are more than 100 around the world. Among them are the Sentinelese, living on India's North Sentinel Island, which killed the missionary John Allen Chau earlier in November when he ventured on their island. To call these people uncontacted, as they often are, is imprecise. It's nearly impossible to completely avoid contact with outsiders, and even harder to avoid objects like factory-made knives or bowls that make their way deep into remote areas through trade. But despite these connections, dozens of groups manage to preserve their isolation and ways of life. International organizations have highlighted the importance of protecting indigenous peoples' environment and lands, the importance of protecting them from exploitation or abuse, and the importance of no contact to prevent the spread of modern diseases. Historic exploration and abuse at the hands of the majority group have led many governments to give uncontacted people, along with their lands, legal protection. Many indigenous groups live on national forests or protected grounds, such as the Vale do Javari in Brazil or the North Sentinel Island in India. Much of the contention over uncontacted peoples has stemmed from governments' desires to extract natural resources. In the 1960s and 1970s, Brazil's federal government attempted to assimilate and integrate native groups living in the Amazon jungle in order to use their lands for farming. Their efforts were met with mixed success and criticism, until in 1987 Brazil created the Department of Isolated Indians inside of FUNAI, Fundação Nacional do Índio, Brazil's Indian agency. FUNAI was successful in securing protected lands which have allowed certain groups to remain relatively uncontacted until the present day. A different outcome occurred in Colombia when the Nucac tribe of indigenous people was contacted by an evangelical group. The tribe was receptive to trade, and eventually moved in order to have closer contact with settlers. This led to an outbreak of respiratory infections, violent clashes with narco-traffickers, and the death of hundreds of the Nucac, more than half of the tribe. Eventually, the Colombian government forcibly relocated the tribe to a nearby town where they received food and government support, but were reported as living in poverty. The threats to the Nucac tribe are generally shared by all peoples in isolation, such as the outside world's desire to exploit their lands. This can include lumbering, ranching and farming, land speculation, oil prospecting and mining, and poaching. For example, Peruvian President Alan Garcia claimed in 2007 that uncontacted groups were only a fabrication of environmentalists bent on halting oil and gas exploration. As recently as 2016, a Chinese subsidiary mining company in Bolivia ignored signs that they were encroaching on uncontacted tribes, and attempted to cover it up. In addition to commercial pursuits, missionaries can also pose a threat. It was those threats, combined with attacks on their tribe by illegal cocaine traffickers, that led a group of Acre Indians to make contact with a village in Brazil, and subsequently with the Brazilian government in 2014. This behavior suggests that many tribes are aware of the outside world, and choose not to make contact unless motivated by fear or self-interest. Satellite images suggest that some tribes intentionally migrate away from roads or logging operations in order to remain secluded. Indigenous rights activists have often advocated indigenous peoples in isolation to be left alone, saying that contact will interfere with their right to self-determination as peoples. On the other hand, experience in Brazil suggests isolating peoples might even want to have trading relationships and positive social connections with others, but choose isolation out of fear of conflict or exploitation. The Brazilian state organization National Indian Foundation, FUNAI, in collaboration with anthropological experts, has chosen to make controlled contact with tribes in initial contact. The organization operates 15 trading posts throughout protected territory at which tribes can trade for metal tools and cooking instruments. The organization also steps in to prevent some conflicts and deliver vaccinations. However, FUNAI has been critical of political will in Brazil, reporting that it only received 15% of its requested budget in 2017. In 2018, after consensus among field agents, FUNAI released videos and images of several tribes under their protection. Although the decision was criticized, the director of the Isolated Indian Department, Bruno Pereira, responded that the more the public knows and the more debate around the issue, the greater the chance of protecting isolated Indians and their lands. He shared that the organization has been facing mounting political pressure to open up lands to commercial companies. He also justified the photography by explaining that FUNAI was investigating a possible massacre against the Flecheros tribe. Right to self-isolation. Recognizing the myriad problems with contact, the United Nations Human Rights Council in 2009 and the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights in 2013 introduced guidelines and recommendations that included a right to choose self-isolation. When contact is made, when members of a tribe initiate contact, or contact is forced upon them by outsiders, the country's government has an obligation to react swiftly and decisively to try and reduce the very high risk of loss of life. Expert medical teams must travel to the area immediately and remain in situ on a long-term basis. Care must be taken not to encourage the tribal peoples to become dependent. The boundaries of the uncontacted people's territories should be policed to prevent incursions by unauthorized people. The latter must also be kept away if tribespeople have voluntarily left the borders of their own land. Contact must not be initiated by anyone other than the tribe in question, as nearly all contacts result in loss of life. The history of the Amazon forest goes back more than 55 million years, and there are animals that are not found anywhere else in the world, and it is rainforests, and humid with broad leaves. 2/3 of the Amazon rainforest is located in Brazil. The Amazon is the largest rainforest in the world. It makes up more than half of the world's rainforests, followed by the rainforests of the Congo Basin in Indonesia. The area of the Amazon rainforest is 6,900,000 square kilometers, which is 40 times greater than the United States of America, South America, and 49th addition towards the South American continent. The largest river in the world circles it, the Amazon River. About 1,000 species of plants, and nearly 3,000 species of plant species in them. There are more than 2,500,000 species of insects. Its symptoms appear in the symptoms caused by smoking. There are cases in sick cases, spiders, and it is the home of giant anacondas, and there are blood-sucking bats, as well as poisonous frogs. The toucan is the loudest of the 3 forest animals. If the rainwater that falls in the Amazon reaches the ground because of its leaves, its broad trees that also block the sun's rays. Okay guys, this is the end. Click like and subscribe. Goodbye.